and welcome back to another episode of Massholes with Mics. There we go. Behind breaking the fourth wall already. I started an intro, scrapped it, didn't like it. Now we're back to the old stuff. That being said, we are back. I know, it's been 4 months. It's been a little bit since the last one. We are here. We missed this past football season. We missed not being able to give you guys the podcast that we like to do. So we are here to debrief the entire season, which was an unfortunate one, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Jaclyn, Jordan are joining me. Jordan may have some light antics. We'll see how it goes. You know, we're just going to figure it out as we go along. But anyway.
We'll just leave it on. If it turns off on its own, we'll just deal with it. Whatever happens, happens.
Exactly. All right. With that being said, got to get into it right away. The Patriots season is over. 8-9, finished off last week at the hands of the Buffalo Bills, losing, I want to say, by 12 in their Week 18 game, which was win and in, lose and go home, unless some magic happened, which it didn't. And the Patriots are now going to be watching their the playoffs from the couches like the rest of us. So, with that being said, I'm going to start with Jaclyn. Very first question right away. Was this Patriots season a disaster to you?
I think that it's exactly how I anticipated this season to go, which is very average. You know, there were some games where I got so excited. I was like, you know what? The Patriots are back. They can have somewhat of playoff hopes. And then the next game, they would turn around and just absolutely blow it. And it would be things that normally a Patriots team would not do. Stupid penalties, silly mistakes on special teams specifically, and just, you know, an overhaul, no cohesion among any part of the offense or special teams. Defense, great season. Very happy with how the defense played this year, but overall, just such an average season. I can't call it a disaster, but I can call it what it is, which is average.
Jordan?
Yeah, I don't think I'd characterize it as a disaster. I would characterize it more as a clown show. That was that in and of itself is a disaster, considering, you know, the Patriots have been the pinnacle of consistency, you know, through our lives, in particular. But like Jaclyn said, special teams issues. I mean, Mike Reese perfectly dubbed it not so special teams. They were really bad, especially in such an important game like the win and you're in on Sunday against Buffalo. It's just really bad. They wasted an elite defense. I mean, obviously they had their games where they were bad, namely the Bears game and then the first Buffalo game, but they were on the field 24/7. And the fact they were able to be, you know, a top 5 to 10 defense in the league, considering they were on the field like 97% of the game because the offense couldn't move, they wasted a very good defense. Matt Judon and Josh Uche looked like legit. They look like one of the best pass rushing duos in the league, and they just completely wasted it, and it's really upsetting. So I would characterize it as a clown show, and it's, you know, it starts at the top with that.
A clown show is not bad. I don't hate that comparison. I would also say it's not necessarily a disaster. I like Jaclyn's use of the word average, because that's technically what they were. They were just below average throughout the entire season. The fact that this team was a win away from making the playoffs to just screw us with another week of having to watch this absolute abject failure of a season would have just been, first of all, it's an indictment on the rest of the AFC. We thought that they were going to be a lot better this year, a lot of stars heading into the conference, a lot of teams gearing up. It just wasn't. But this season frustrated me more than any other season that I can remember, for sure. And it does have to go, it goes back to us being spoiled. Jordan's right. I mean, we are. And I make no apology for that. I would argue that it's honed my football watching ability to where, like, I know what is good football. I don't think that that's hyperbolic for any of us here to say. Any Patriots fans watching, we know what good football is. We watched it for 2 decades. This was not good football. Just wasn't. It was painful to watch in many, many aspects. And I think a lot of it starts with the coaching. I think we can get right into that right now. Fat Patricia. My God. I wanted to blow my brains out almost every single week watching this man. If I see another 3rd and 12 screen, I am going to scream. The 3rd and 10
You
do
not want Cliff Kingsbury to get hired, though.
Absolutely not. The 3rd and 12 double screen pisses me off more than anything. Fake it to the right to Stevenson, then turn around and try and fake it to Judon on the other side, or Jonnu on the other side. And by that time, the defense is going by you because guess what? Offensive linemen are going out to block, so you're using some of them in the screen. So Mac looks and he goes, let me throw it to the second guy, and there's 3 guys on him. And I'm like, What are we doing? Like you cannot allow this. The amount of did you know that they scored 98 fewer points this year than last year? Scored 17 fewer touchdowns on offense from this year to last year.
I'm surprised it's that close to it was last year. It did not seem like they were even in the same stratosphere as last year's team offensively.
Oh, they weren't. I mean,
No.
the Cam Newton offense scored more touchdowns than this one. Think about that. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's absolutely mind-boggling. Sorry, Jaclyn. I think.
But this just no, you're totally fine. This just goes to show just how pivotal Josh McDaniels was in this system, because without him, you can totally see the difference in the offense. The offense truthfully does not move without Josh McDaniels, and it's just so frustrating to watch, especially with a quarterback who you know is going to go into a sophomore slump. Most, if not all, second-year quarterbacks do. You need someone who he can trust on offense, and you could tell throughout the year Mac Jones just did not trust Matt Patricia's play calling. He was calling his own plays half the time, it seemed like. And that's just not something that you want a 24-year-old quarterback to be doing. He is not the second coming of Tom Brady. We know this clearly by now. We do not want him calling his own plays at this moment in his career, or perhaps ever in his career.
Before I let Jordan go, I just want to say one of the things that kind of stood out to me this year was the fact that there really wasn't much change on the offense. If you want to look at just like strictly personnel, right? They switched out Shaq Mason for Cole Strange, and obviously flipped the guard, so they put on Wenu at right and Strange at left guard. They added Devontae Parker to the wide receiver core, and basically everybody else was the same. Ramondre got another year, and he was great. Damian Harris was still here.
Taekwon, who played a little bit.
Great point. They added in Tyquan Thornton, still had Aguilar, still had Jacoby Myers. The tight ends were the same. Literally, they added. That's the only thing they did was add on offense for personnel, and they changed the coaching. And I know there were a lot of people ready to crucify Josh McDaniels on his way out the door. Thank God he's gone. Thank God he's out of here. I'm so sick of watching the screenplays. Guess what you guys got? You guys got Matt Patricia. Like he was the alternative. And before we will talk about this at the end in terms of like going forward. I'm not sold on Bill O'Brien becoming the next offensive play caller for this team. I think the butt chin stinks. I think he's not that good. He doesn't help Alabama. I've watched a lot of Alabama football over the last couple of years. He does not help them as much as you would think, but he's miles better than Matt Patricia, because at least he's an offensive mind. One of the ways that I heard it described, actually, you know what? I'm going to let Jordan talk. You haven't gone in a while. I'm going to bring something up afterwards, but I want to see what you think about the coaching as a whole. We'll start on offense, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I tweeted this during the Bills game, and I was a little bit hyperbolic calling Matt Patricia the best defensive-minded assistant coach on the team. Steve Belichick's a really good defensive coordinator. I mean, 3 top 5 defenses in 4 years. I mean, the resume speaks for itself, and I mean, maybe a lot of it's Gerard Mayo too, whatever. Anyway, it's one thing to build around your defense on the field, like with the roster and the players, and you're like, okay, our offense is going to be okay, and our defense is going to win us a lot of football games. It's a different thing to have defensive coach as your offensive coordinator, a special teams coach, so essentially another defensive coach, as your quarterback's coach, and then you obviously have your defensive coaches as well. It was just really stupid. Altogether, it made no sense, and it was like, I really don't even know like what logic went into the Matt Patricia hire in particular.
None.
Like in my mind, I'm thinking, like, is he trying to, like, groom him into being a better head coach in the future because, it's like, now we can see the other side of the ball? Or are they just trying to get, like, a little bit too creative with having a defensive mind? I have no idea. I tried to justify it a lot in the beginning because the first, like, 4 or 5 weeks, you could see improvement. They were sustaining drives against Pittsburgh, especially late. They had the, like, 7-minute drive that iced that game. They played really well, I thought, all things considered, with Hoyer and Zappi against Green Bay. I thought they were really good in that game. I thought they played really well against the Lions offensively with Zappi again. It was really weird watching them kind of improve, and then when Matt came back, it was like Matt Patricia ran straight into a wall, got like super mega concussed, and forgot like what football even was, let alone offense. It's like
he got distracted by a buffet.
Yeah, a typical, like, run-of-the-mill, like, MLG Madden player could have probably called a better offense than Matt Patricia did this season. And Matt Patricia's an actual NFL coach, and that's embarrassing. And that speaks volumes to Bill's ability to hire on his staff. He's just hiring his buddies and his family, and it's bad. It's really bad.
Well, I saw something come out today that Bill Belichick said that there's going to be changes on the offensive side of the coaching staff specifically. So I guess not to throw a curveball, but like, who would you guys want to see calling plays next year? Like, if it's not someone on this staff currently, which
Are we
personally I don't think it is, like, who would that be?
are we talking realistically or pipe dream? Because I have a pipe
I
dream.
mean, realistically.
I don't think you can get any more realistic than Bill O'Brien at this point.
Hmm.
Pipe dream, I want the Lions guy. I want Ben Johnson. That guy calls a great game. He made Jared
He
Goff look good
does.
down the stretch. Like, I don't think you can ask for much more than that. I want to push back a little bit on the defensive thing, though. I'm going to read you guys a list of the quarterbacks the Patriots beat this season. I want you to tell me if any of them are good. So we got Mitch Trubisky, Jacoby Brissett, Zach Wilson again, Colt McCoy, Bridgewater slash something named as Skylar Thompson, Sam Ellinger, and Jared Goff. One of those quarterbacks ended the year as the starter. Oh, I guess you can make it two because Sam Ellinger started their last game of the season, but he stinks. We all know he stinks.
Hey,
Quarterbacks they lost to this year? Yeah,
I'm gonna say Jacoby Brissett, I think, is
I
actually
know.
pretty good.
He was better than Deshaun
Oh, yeah,
Watson, but he
Brissett-
still didn't end the season starting. So,
That's true.
Yeah, Brissett and Goff are the only two on that list that are like legitimate, like NFL caliber quarterbacks. And
the,
then
the
I mean, you
quarterbacks
said
that they
something called
lost to? Yeah, so the quarterbacks that, yeah, something called the Skylar Thompson, who will start and get smacked by the Bills on Saturday. But the quarterbacks they lost to this season, Burrow, Rodgers, Lamar, Tua, Allen, Fields, Carr, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Allen again. Anytime you face an even moderately good quarterback, you lose. I don't think that I think that the defense had a wildly overhyped season. I appreciate the defensive touchdowns. They're great and all. You shouldn't be first of all, you shouldn't be counting on them, and this Patriots team absolutely was down the stretch. How often are you going to ask your defense to go and score you a touchdown? Second of all, again, I just read off the list of quarterbacks, and they were 0-8, I think, when giving up 20 plus points, or 0-9 when giving up 20 plus points to an opponent. Like, part of that is the offense. I get that. But I don't think the defense was anything to write home about because especially in big moments when they needed to stop, think just about last Sunday against the Bills, you know, you had that. I think there was a chop block penalty, so they were down. They were backed up. It was 3rd and 10, 64 yards down the sideline to Diggs or whatever it was, touchdown. Like when you needed to stop
John
in
Brown.
big moments this year.
Oh no, it was Diggs. It was Diggs.
Yeah, and you're right though. They had the Brown touchdown later on. You needed to stop against Rodgers and Lambeau. Couldn't get it. You got one, and then you couldn't get the second one, which at that point you really needed because again Zappy was coming in relief at that point. Needed to stop against the Bears. Couldn't do it. Needed to stop against the Dolphins. Couldn't do it early in the season. Like this defense was god awful on 3rd down if I'm not mistaken. But when it comes to the offense, I'm gonna circle back because I had to get that defensive point out. I think what good offensive coordinators do, and I think Josh McDaniels understood this better than maybe a lot of guys in the league, is forget trying to call plays to face a certain defense. This is what I think Matt Patricia was doing. It's a small change in philosophy, but it's huge. Matt Patricia saw a defense that, okay, they're bringing in cover 2 or they're going to blitz. I'm going to call this play to combat that because that's the best play for that defense. That's how defensive guys think because defense is all about matching what your opponent brings out on offense. What offensive guys do is say, how do I get my players in the best position to succeed? How can I get my guys going? Yeah, maybe a slant isn't necessarily the right play to call against a zone defense, but Jacoby Myers has been real cold so far this game. I need to just get him a touch. He can break a tackle. Maybe he can get going from that. I want to put my players in a position to succeed. I'm not going to just keep running whatever the play is with whatever personnel I have. If I know Ramondre Stevenson's better at breaking tackles in the open field, I'm not going to send him to run it up the gut 65 billion times when Damian Harris is hurt. I'm going to put him on the edges where he can make guys miss and make it really effective. Matt Patricia did not do a good job of that. Any offensive guy worth his salt can. And that's why I agree with Jordan. It was just inexcusable from the start. Anyone with a brain knew that this wasn't going to work out. And lo and behold, guess what? It didn't. Whoa. Mind-boggling.
The thing that I find so incredible about it is it looked for a bit like he was starting to figure out how to be an offensive coordinator because they, like I said, they were improving week to week until Mac came back against the Bears. And then they even like flashed with those 2 Zappy drives, especially the first one. It was so strange. I don't understand what happened in that Bears game, but just all of a sudden, they just couldn't move the football anymore. It was so mind-boggling to me.
I'll tell you what it is. I think people much smarter than me have done a lot more on this than I have, but just from like my memory and listening to people talk, it seems like they were running two different playbooks. I don't know how you can do that at this level. I don't know how you can do that. They featured so much more play action for Bailey Zappi. It felt like every other snap he was going play action, and he hit Jacoby Myers on the seam, or whatever. Didn't really feel like they did that with Mac all that much. You know when they did it a lot? This past Sunday. You know what they did in the first half on Sunday? They looked pretty damn good. They had 2 touchdowns against a pretty good Bills defense. Mac was, I think, 9 of 9 on play action for 100+ and a touchdown.
Yeah, he was 9 for 9. Yeah, 9 of 9. I think it was 116 and a touchdown on play action. And I saw, I think Brian Barrett tweeted it. He was like, how on earth did it take 18 weeks for you to realize, or I guess 16 with Mac, or 15 with Mac, whatever. I think it was 15 with Mac, where it took you 15 weeks with Mac Jones to realize, oh, this MFer can throw the ball out for play action, because pretty much everyone can. You did it with Bailey Zappi. Like,
I don't understand. I don't understand. It makes no sense. Jaclyn, I want to kick this to you because we've been having a lot of Mac-centric talk here, so it feels only right to hit this now. Is Mac Jones the guy for you going forward? What do you evaluate off of this past season? Can you evaluate anything at all?
So for me, it's so early in a sophomore season to tell, okay, we need to move away from this quarterback, especially when he's had 2 different offensive play callers in his first 2 seasons. Now, if this was still the same offensive play caller and he moved back this far, because his stats they weren't terrible this season. Like, they weren't too far below where he was last year, but just from an eye test, you could tell, like, he did not look nearly as confident as he did as a rookie, which is kind of crazy because you would think, as years go on, you get more confident. I think you reevaluate after next year. If that's even going to say to my last point, like, he's more likely than not, God willing, having a new, offensive play caller next year. So even then, can you tell? Because it's a new system. But I think also his offensive line was not too great this season either. And getting him, an offensive line who actually tries to block people, and then, a capable play caller would be very beneficial for him. It also, to me, doesn't seem, sorry, I keep going on, but it doesn't really seem like he's checking down all of his receivers. He's going, Hunter Henry, Jacoby, overthrow, Hunter Henry, you know what I mean? And it's just not a sustainable way for him to continue to be a starting quarterback in this league if he doesn't, use more than his favorite targets.
Jordan?
Max salvaged a lot of my opinion of him in the second half of the season. Like, I just quickly checked to confirm, like, he had a passer rating over 90 in the last 9 games of the season, which, I mean, it's not great. It would have ranked 19th in the league behind Tom Brady. It's by like 0.6. Just wanted to throw that out there. So maybe he is the second coming. He's just the second coming of the 45-year-old Tom Brady.
Yikes.
He salvaged a lot for me. He gave me enough confidence in him in the second half of the season for me to be like, yeah, I'm not prepared to go and draft another quarterback this year or, throw the bag at Lamar. I mean, actually, if Lamar Jackson was going to come here, I would probably throw the bag at him. But regardless, Max salvaged a lot in the second half of the season. What pissed me off the most was, regardless of who his play caller was and his frustrations, he needs to be a little bit more composed and not because he, especially in that Raiders game where he threw that little hissy fit and then screwed up 2 plays in a row on the goal line. That's on him. He can be as mad as he wants to be at Matt Patricia, but if he's making there was the one play that he tried to rush a QB sneak into the end zone, and it was illegal formation because he didn't wait for the guy he was staring at to get set on the line. Mistakes like that, he needs to clean up for year 3. But really, I mean, what we've seen in the NFL lately is with Jalen Hurts, he got his elite wide receiver 1, and he became great MVP candidate. Josh Allen, same deal. Tua Probably would have been had he not, gotten 72 concussions this season. Probably would have been in the MVP race as well, getting Tyreek Hill. So if you get Mac a legit number one and run it back with, I would keep Parker. I would keep Kendrick Bourne if he's willing to stay. I'd bring back Jacoby Myers and put him strictly in the slot and not send him on deep routes all the time, and then let Tyquan Thornton continue to develop behind them. And then, just see what you got at tight end and give Mac a year with a legitimate play caller and just see what happens. I'm not going to say he's the guy, but he's not the guy, All
right, I got a lot of stuff, so I'm going to rifle through this very quickly, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Number one, I completely agree. I think it's been kind of overblown, his failures of this year. Totally agree with Jordan. I think the emotional pitching a fit and throwing a temper tantrum absolutely annoys the crap out of me. At a certain point, I understand you doing it once. That's fine, honestly, in my opinion. It shows that, A, you care, which I always want to see out of my guys, but also the fact that, you're unhappy. We get it. We do. I think we as fans understand that he was put in a really hard position this year. But at a certain point, when it's game after game, because he went from the Bills game to the Cardinals game to the Raiders game, and I think he had a couple towards the end of the season as well, Bengals game, it's dude, at a certain point, shut up. I don't care. We all understand that you're going through a hard time right now and it's not easy. But guess what? You pitching a fit does not help. And I think that's part of why he does these dirty, quote unquote. I'm going to call him the greatest now in the NFL until he figures his crap out. Because him taking out Eli Apple on that play was dirty. Him doing the same, trying to pull Brian Burns' leg last year was dirty. Part of it is, I think that he doesn't have that composure that Jordan's talking about. I think he lashes out in the moment. And while he isn't necessarily a dirty player, he does dirty plays because he loses his head and sees red on a play where he thought he turned the ball over, went over and said, I'm gonna take this guy's legs out. Behind the play, not even the guy with the ball, which is a penalty anyway. But it got worse because it looked that dirty and he went for the legs. You can't do that.
He's like a child.
Exactly. And he's got to work on that. I don't care who the play caller is. That's not something that I can teach you. You have to learn that yourself at a certain point. You're 24. I would hope that you had learned it now, but you haven't. So figure it out quickly. Yeah, Jordan, sorry.
Really quickly, I sent this text, I believe, in our group chat during, I want to say, I don't think it was the Bills game. I think it was the week after, where I'm like, he's nowhere near good enough to be doing this. When Brady throws hissy fits on the sideline. But he's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's got a resume. He is allowed to be a little bit of a dink to his teammates because he's earned that, he's got that aura about him. Mac Jones is an unproven second-year quarterback. You cannot be throwing hissy fits on the sideline every time you screw up just because you're mad at the situation. It was inexcusable from him, too. He's not free of blame
Here's
at
the
all.
catch-22. Here's the catch-22 here, and this is the part that I have a really hard time reconciling in my brain, is the fact that Mac is not good enough because he's only had 2 seasons of NFL experience to be whining and bitching at his coaches. The problem is the coaches are so inept, he's right to be able to bitch. And if both of those things are absolutely true, and it's not possible for me to separate the two and be like, all right, this one's clearly at fault, this one's clearly at fault. They both deserve blame, and it annoys me because I like to have one person to blame and get mad at. Third of all, the situation around him was terrible, and I think it goes a long way to saying, not everything was on him. But it also isn't just on the play calling. The offensive line, also coached by the boo-boo does the play calling, sucked this year. They were terrible. Trent Brown was checked out half the time. Isaiah Wynn, my God.
He had 13 penalties.
And Wynn or Trent Brown?
Brown.
I was going to say, I think Wynn could get 13, and I think he only played in 8 games. So, wouldn't have surprised me. Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Brown and Isaiah Wynn as your 2 tackles were like 2 brain cells fighting for third place. It was really bad. Both of them were awful. Trent Brown, especially considering the kind of pedigree he has and how great he was last time he was in New England, how good he was last season. I didn't understand that either. They brought him back and then they just switched sides. Trent Brown was good at right tackle last year. Isaiah Wynn was fine at left tackle last year. Why the hell why did you switch it? It didn't make any sense to me. Trent Brown is lazy as hell now. He's literally, it was like what we used to make fun of with Marshall Newhouse, where the old security guard that's patting people down without even touching them to see if they have any weapons on them. That was Trent Brown trying to block. He was atrocious all season. I'd be willing to say he was the most disappointing player on the offense entirely, was him.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but give me a second here, because Cole Strange being a first round pick, he was only good when David Andrews was near him. Bedard, who knows a lot more about this than I do, big into the fatty line play. He knows, Cole Strange is good, but David Andrews has to help himself a lot, has to help him a lot, on when who can take care of himself on the right side. Andrews had a concussion midway through the season and missed like 3 weeks. He had that thigh problem as well, couldn't go on Thursday night. Cole Strange was god-awful. And also, hit the buffet, dude. I need to see you with like 50 pounds more, because you were light. You looked really small. You looked like a thin bowling ball out there, which was not good for a left guard. That's not what I want to see. Third of all, I guess
he's
the
like
receivers,
a candlepin bowling ball, not
exactly
like a big
little tiny ones
ball.
that you could palm.
Yeah.
The
I
third
also
of all,
want to add that
yeah.
that was a hole that Bill Belichick created for no reason. You don't trade a good right guard to draft another guard in the first round. You drafted Mike Onwenu in the 6th round. You didn't need to spend a first-round pick on a guard.
Yeah. Especially not a light guard.
You traded a good guard. You traded a good guard.
You got helium guard.
You created a hole, and then you created a hole and then filled it in the first round for no reason. Like, you had other issues, man. Anyway,
and then
sorry,
finally,
Jeremy.
the weapons were also a problem. I mean, I saw a breakdown of this. Jacoby Myers and Tyquan Thornton, for some reason, instead of running out routes the entire year, they would go and run, instead of, a good out route is 90 degrees. Good receivers break back to the ball. Bad receivers fade outwards at a 45. Middle of the road receivers do the 90. They did 45s. They would fade out. So Mac Jones, when he would miss short to guys, he's thinking that they're going to run straight to the sideline. They don't. Kendrick Bourne, when he did get on the field, he was half the time it was illegal shifts and false starts and all these really stupid plays. And then he would ball when he was there, but the coaching staff hated him, so they didn't play him. So instead they played Tyquan Thornton, who would run into guys half the time or be right in their area and make it so that we could... Jonnu Smith did not play the final 2 games of the season because he got concussed against the Bengals. You know why? It's because I want to say it was either Myers or Thornton was over on the right side with him and put 2 defenders in Jonnu's space instead of 1. He shouldn't have been there. They were sitting like as far away as I am from this door right here. Jonnu gets concussed because he gets sandwiched between 2 helmets. Like, stuff like that at a certain point, that's not on the play calling. You got to run the right route, boss. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but part of it is also on the play calling because they couldn't create space for the guys. What was the play that Henry and Jonnu collided with each other on the first?
They ran right into each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
stuff
like that.
In the game you lost by 1 score.
A crossing route. I'm pretty sure the coaching staff can tell you that, and I would know enough to not run into the guy that's not coaching. That's players. So at a certain point, the players weren't. Yeah, the players weren't buying in. Like it goes. It all comes together in just one pile of blah, and that was basically like what it was to watch the Patriots the entire season. Absolutely frustrating beyond belief. All right, let's go and do the kind of like the future, what we think the Patriots are going to do moving forward. All right, here we go. Last thing here. We want to talk about the Patriots going forward into the future. Jaclyn kind of brought this up already, speaking about like what we think the new play caller should be, or who we think the new play caller should be. But I just want to hear from you guys in terms of a direction of the team. Like, where do you see this Patriots team going forward into next year, presumably with Bill Belichick at the helm? Jordan, I'll start with you.
I got no idea, man. I seriously, last offseason, I was pretty confident moving forward, even without Josh McDaniels. I thought they'd be, they'd take a step forward, and they took a massive step back. So literally no idea. I do think that they are going, I would feel very confident in saying they're going to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. It just feels too obvious. I don't know what the compensation will be. They're going to do it. That is my 2 cents. They're going to do it. I'm going to put money on it if that becomes a thing. It's going to happen. And then they'll have McElwain as elite receiver in year 3, and that's kind of how we'll assess him moving forward, is how he does with an elite receiver. And I would probably hire Bill O'Brien just because I don't know enough about offensive coordinators to really come up with somebody better, but I know that he was very good at getting both of his tight ends involved when he was in New England, especially. Gronk and Hernandez were a very good duo for the first 2 years, and then obviously Aaron Hernandez had a really bad last year in New England for other reasons, but it was the worst year of his career with McDaniels the year after O'Brien left. So I would probably bring him back. You got to find a way to get Jonnu Smith involved. He makes plays when you give him the damn ball. but they don't give him the ball at all. I mean, it's tough to scheme plays for everybody, but he's the best athlete on your offense aside from maybe Ramondre. You got to get him the ball more.
Jaclyn?
I don't care who it is. Just name a goddamn coordinator on the offense and the defense. I am so sick of this bullshit. Oh, he is the, senior football advisor and the play caller. Oh, he's the linebackers coach and the play caller. I don't give a damn. Name a coordinator. I'm so sick of it. I am sick of it.
If they lose Gerard Mayo because
agree.
they refuse to name him the DC, I'm going to be pissed.
And you know what?
Just like,
you know what? They probably won't name him the DC because otherwise that would be superseding Bill's stupid kids authority, who I don't think is that good anyway. I'm sick of him too, but that's a separate problem.
I think that he calls a good defense, but like you said, he hasn't had any reputable wins under him. I really just need an offensive coordinator. Maybe we can do like co-defensive coordinators to make everyone happy, make Mayo happy, make Steve happy, and then, you know what, we can just move forward as a big happy family on the defensive side, because that's not the issue. The issue is the goddamn offensive coordinator. Just name one. Anyways, I'm also going to take this
Breaking
time.
news, the Patriots hire Romeo Crennel as the offensive coordinator.
Sure. Can't be worse than
75-year-old DC.
Oh my God. But I also want to take this time to talk about my favorite thing to talk about, which is punting. And we all know that my favorite thing to talk about is punting. And my word, with Jake Bailey gone, they were terrible. They couldn't even.
They were bad with him. They were bad with him,
but they were even worse without. And you know what? I really think that the Bills game in particular is a perfect example of why a punter matters. Why someone who, not even a punter, just someone who can kick the ball into the end zone on a kickoff is so important. And couldn't even do that. So I think, having that punter or that kickoff specialist or, a kicker in general, just kickers, super important to a team. And I really think that, moving forward, they need to figure that situation out. They really do.
There were many annoying.
They had 2 games this season where they had 3 active players on the roster that were just designed to kick the football. Tristan Vizcaino, Nick Folk, and Michael Pilardi. And God, were they all awful, especially in the second half.
One of the underrated annoying things there were many annoying things about this Patriots season, but one of the things that pissed me off the most was that you had a perfectly good special teams coach on the roster, and his name was Joe Judge, and you still rolled with his boob Cam McCord, who should have been fired last year. Like that in and of itself is indicative of how bad it got this year. That man, special teams was that big of an issue. A team that's prided themselves on that for the last 2 decades couldn't even line up and kick off. You had to squib kick in a must-win game in Buffalo, up a touchdown, or maybe it was a down 5 points at that point, and gave them the ball at the 40-yard line because you were scared to kick it off to them. My God, if that doesn't show how far you have fallen as a franchise and as an organization, I don't know what does. I said at the very beginning of this, I said moving forward presumably with Bill Belichick, because I'm getting annoyed with him. I was annoyed with him before. I'm really annoyed with him now. He said, put the blame on me if Matt Patricia and Joe Judge don't work out. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he said. Well, guess what, Bill? I'm putting the blame on you because you sucked balls this year. You were terrible. You were absolutely terrible. Now I'm still convinced that he could coach at a championship level. I'll get that out right now. I was talking to Patton Davis about this yesterday. But at this point, he opts for comfortability over winning. That's not doing what's best for the team. How is that doing what's best for the team?
It's because he's 89,000 years old.
Do you know why Jake Bailey didn't play on Sunday? Is because they were going to have to guarantee him his money for next year, I think, if he had played, and he would have been like the second highest paid punter in the league. So instead they put him on the reserve suspended list or whatever. His agent's pretty pissed about it. And then lo and behold, guess who you needed?
Rightfully so.
You needed Jake Bailey on Sunday, but now you probably lost him in forever. He's probably going to get cut because they don't want to pay him because they gave him a stupid $5 million extension last year. Because good Lord, if you didn't race to go and lock up your punter, Lord knows people would have been barging the door down on you for that one. My God, it's decisions like that that's just like, why? Why? You didn't even need anyone good. You just needed someone serviceable. But instead, you decide to pay. We've seen how many years Justin Bethel and Matthew Slater and all these other guys have been around. Why on earth are your special teams that bad if you're investing that heavily on them? I mean, Brendan Schooler doesn't do anything else last I checked. Like, the special teams unit blows. They absolutely blow. It's ridiculous. And it just kind of goes down on through. So Bill is now only comfortable with hiring former players, friends, kids, friends of kids, kids of friends. Like, you just keep on going. It's just nepotism. That's all it is. It's freaking ridiculous.
Sounds like the Colts owner.
It's worse than the Colts.
Like the
It's worse than Irsay, honestly. Irsay's at least got his face stuffed in the medicine cabinet all the time. I don't see Bill doing that.
Yeah,
Bill's just inept.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go further into that. It's just, I mean,
so expend on what's in the medicine cabinet.
And what does Bill do though on Monday? Is he gets up and says, "Yeah, over the last 3 years, we spent the 27th least cash. We spent like the 27th. We're 27th in the league in net spending. What are we doing? What are we doing? I understand. First of all, that's something that Robert tries to distance himself from and tries to get the media to explain away. The Crafts are sneakily very stingy. They don't like to spend, whether it be the Revs, whether it be the Patriots. That's why 2 years ago, when we were all we were going collectively nuts because of all the people they were signing, that's why. It's because it's so rare. They don't do this. But I've failed. I think Mike Reese may have said it actually on Zoe and Beetle. You don't think Bill Belichick has the license to spend whatever he wants? The guy gets paid like $20 million a year anyway. So, like, you don't think that he has license to spend wherever he wants on the roster? The cap is a myth. It is. Just convert guys to signing bonuses. They're a way to do gymnastics where if I hear anyone tell me that the Patriots cap number is really tight, like they're really up against the cap, what are they going to do? Open up the checkbook. I promise you it's fake. Don't let anyone ever tell you again that the cap is a problem for a football team, because it's not. You can spend if you want to.
Weren't the Saints like $110 million over a couple years ago?
And they figured it out because they converted to Mario Davis's salary to a bonus and paid it to him up front. And they do all that, but owners don't want to shell out the cash. The Crafts do. The Crafts fall into that category, and Bill called him out on it because he doesn't want to be blamed. He also said Mac is good enough to play quarterback in the NFL. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of your quarterback, because guess what? He wants other people to see that maybe I don't like this kid. Maybe I think he whines a little bit too much. He got up on Monday and just went full deflection mode. Tried to get all the blame off of him and his stupid coaching hires and stuff. Like, it's just insane.
To be fair, did you see the letter that the Crafts sent out to the season ticket holders that was basically like, there are things that are going to change. This season was unacceptable, blah, 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 blah.
That's Robert trying to cover his ass. I thought that, I didn't think that we pointed fingers around here, but apparently that's all we do now. We're the Cowboys. This is my ultimate fear. My ultimate fear was becoming the next version of the 90s Cowboys. The 90s Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, had a massive fan base, they were riding on top of the world. You know they haven't won a road playoff game in 30 years? That's the history that they're facing Monday night in Tampa Bay when they try and go and knock off a terrible Bucs team. And I bet you they won't, because they're the Cowboys. They haven't won a road playoff game in 30 years. 30. That's where that's the path that we're on right now. And it scares the crap out of me to think that we could actually get there. It's not inconceivable, people. It's really not. Jordan? Sorry.
No, I was cutting Jaclyn off. She can go.
Mine was completely changing the topic, so if yours is related.
No, go for it.
No, I just think both sides, Bill and Kraft, are very, very full of blame, and it's getting to the point where, like you said, you're getting pissed off at Bill. I am too. Like I'm not like I am very reactionary in the moment, and I said that they need to fire him, but he does need to enter next season on a lukewarm seat at the very least. You start 2-5 again, like they've done the last 2 years, where they've started horribly. That seat's got to get hot, and I don't think you fire him mid-season. He's a legend. You can't do that to him. But if they start poorly again and they miss the playoffs again, or they get routed in the first round again, it's over. You need to move forward. You need to start thinking about the next era of Patriots football. And it's getting to the point, and I mean that also includes maybe Robert handing the team over to Jonathan or something. Just get new blood in there, get younger, get a little bit more creative, get with the damn times, because you can't be doing what the Patriots have been doing the last 2 years and think that's acceptable. And they're pointing fingers at each other. They're making a ton of excuses. That's something that has never happened. And if they move off Mac this offseason, that's incredibly stupid because this is the perfect time to bring a guy like DeAndre Hopkins in because you have Mac on his rookie deal. You do not go and get another quarterback unless you're going to draft one, I guess, but I wouldn't. It's just
there's no one here that would be good enough at this point unless you're trading up. So that would either require you to get off of Mac. To upgrade a quarterback, you would either need to get Young or Stroud if you believe that he's better than Mac, or you go and get someone like Lamar Jackson. Either way, you pay out the nose for Lamar Jackson. Maybe you have to give up some picks and stuff to get him because the Ravens can franchise him. You're giving up a buttload of picks to go get Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. However you slice it, there's no easy way to upgrade a quarterback this offseason. It's not worth doing. But to your point, if they move on from him, I would at this point, sure, that's fine, do it. I don't care. And you guys know, I hate the guy until he retires. I really do. Retire and then I can like you again. But for now, you're dead to me. Look no further than Jacksonville, though. Trevor Lawrence was labeled an early bust after year one. He got a good coach in there. He got some weapons, but it's not like Christian Kirk is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But look at how good Trevor Lawrence looks now when he has legitimate coaching and a support system and an offense that's half competent. That shows you the power of coaching in the NFL. Guys can still make a difference. It's not necessarily the impact that a star quarterback like Patrick Mahomes has, but they can still have an impact on developing your guy to take that next step. And just to put in a second year, I know Jaclyn brought it up earlier that second year guys sometimes hit that sophomore slump. The really good guys take that big second year jump. Look no further than Joe Burrow, who got to the Super Bowl in his second season. This was supposed to be that for Mac. Not necessarily Super Bowl, but it was supposed to be a jump. And all you're doing is circling the drain at this point because Bill wants comfortability and ahead of actually wanting to coach. It's so frustrating to me because you can see the issues on this team and know that nothing's going to change because Belichick wants the Shula record. Robert wants Belichick to break the Shula record as a Patriots coach. And as a fan, would you guys keep going to the games if you knew that they were going to be 6-11 every year, but Belichick in 3 years could break Shula's record? I don't know.
Not if they're still $300 a ticket.
That's not.
I don't go to games.
Sure.
I don't go to. I've gone to 2 games in my life. I wouldn't go to games anyway.
Yeah, seriously. But again, though, that's not a draw for me. I don't need to see Belichick break Shula's record as a Patriot. That's not going to get me to come to the stadium. What's going to get me to the stadium is knowing that there's a future. They're building something. It looks like they could take a step or at least make a playoff game. Man. It also took 47 minutes for Jordan's light to shut off. We finally got there. Look at that. Sorry, Jaclyn, I cut you off.
One thing that I think could, help Belichick secure a good, good faith with the fans, good faith with the organization, and good faith with my own mother is making sure that Matthew Judon stays on this team. He has an opt-out this year. My mom
he does? I didn't know that.
Matthew Judon. My mom loves him. So making sure that he stays because you can tell the impact that he is having on Josh Uche. And honestly, if that development is stinted without him here, that is just terrible. It's so terrible for this organization. And I think that he is such a great influence for these younger linebackers to, kind of get back into this gritty, attacking mentality. And we didn't see that before him, truly. So it's making sure that he is staying is pivotal.
I'll do you one step. I'll do you one step further, Jaclyn. And Matthew Judon, I could care less what impact he has on the linebackers around him. He's the best player on the team.
It's true.
Don't let him walk. That's why I wouldn't let him walk. It's because he's the only Pro Bowler. First of all, he's the best player on the team, and he is kind of a leader in the locker room at this point. I'm assuming you guys saw Jalen Mills' Instagram story where he was like, I don't want to be where I'm not wanted or something along the lines of that. It's like, all right, well, first of all, you were incredibly overrated. Go away, first of all. I don't care. But second of all, if more players are feeling like that, we know Kendrick Bourne's probably feeling like that. Nelson Aguilar better not take another snap as a Patriot. You can go on down the list. A lot of pending free agents or opt-outs and stuff like that. Bill's got some major roster reshuffling he's got to do. I don't know if he's up for it at 71 years old. You are really staring down the barrel of long years of
mediocrity.
This season was really the year that fully, I don't want to say shifted my thinking, because it was already kind of trending there, but you kind of get into a certain mindset, right, as a Patriots fan over the last 2 decades, where you can win any game that you're in. You can. The defense will come up with a big turnover, the offense will figure out something. Look no further than that Raiders play, that god-awful, disastrous Raiders play, which makes me look at it and say, wow, you're the commies. Like, that's what you are. You're the Washington Commanders. You're a team that's so dysfunctional both on and off the field. You cannot get out of your own way, trip over yourself in big moments. Yeah, maybe you'll sneak into the playoffs once every year or two, but once every few years. But like, overall, you're a second-class organization. That Raiders game, by the way, was flexed out from Sunday Night Football for Giants Commanders. You got Daniel Snyder on national TV over you. Are you kidding me? We've always been over this. I know we talk about this. I love NBC. I love being the Sunday night game. It's awesome. It's the big games. They always get the big moments. You got flexed out for Daniel. Yeah, and Carrie Underwood leads it in. That's incredible. You got flexed out for Daniel Snyder. If that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. Like, that is by far the biggest indictment. I got nothing. I really don't. You guys one thing I did want to bring up before I sign us off here. Could be the last game of Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater's Patriots careers in general. So if it is the end, 2 all-time guys. I'll look forward to seeing them in the Patriots Hall of Fame, for sure.
I have been lucky enough to meet Devin McCourty and his brother and his mom on multiple occasions, and I can truthfully say that he is a class act guy on and off the field. I've really been blessed to, work with him frequently throughout my life, and am really sad if that was the way that he went out. But truly, like I said, Hall of Fame in my eyes.
I do like the fact that he, first of all, I bet you his mom was the biggest electric factory of the 3 of them. But second of all,
oh my gosh, his mom was amazing.
I do like that he went out with a fumble recovery and a pick in what could be his final game. Sure. So he had been really god-awful at points during this season. I think he dropped that pick against the Dolphins that was just like hit him in the helmet or something. But going out with that, I'll take it. Jordan, anything to add on Slater and McCourty?
Well, yeah, I mean, D-Mac's not going to get a Super Bowl to ride off into the sunset unless he leaves New England, and I don't think he would do that. He loves it here too. He loves it in New England too much. So that's probably the closest thing he'll get to a Super Bowl to ride off into the sunset on. So, but, I don't know. I don't really know Patriots football without the 2 of them because I didn't really get into it until like 2010, 2011. So I was right around, I think, McCourty and Slater's rookie season was right around when they came into the league. So I don't know Patriots football without them, and they're 2 of the 3 biggest leaders in that locker room. They're gone. You're talking about you kind of need to commit to being terrible next year because that's a lot of leadership walking out the door. That's a lot. And they keep those guys when you're struggling, those kind of guys you can lean on and you can kind of rally around, and you lose those guys, especially since Judon also can opt out. You lose all 3, but especially those 2, it's something where you're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not you want to move forward or embrace the suck and get, back in the early part of the first round.
In my opinion, bring Slater back on as a special teams coach if he retires.
Hang on. Troy Brown was the wide receivers coach, and I did talk about how bad the wide receivers have been, so that's not a guarantee at this point. I'm nervous.
No, but it is something where you have someone who has seen it all on special teams, still in the building and still mentoring, and it would honestly be more of just mentally for those guys, have him be a special teams assistant. He doesn't need to be the coordinator. He can just be there for historical perspective. I just think having him in the building in some capacity would be extremely helpful for any future Patriots team.
This coffee mug is a better special teams coordinator than Cam McCord, so
I think he said this coffee mug. I'm sure the audio probably came through in his recording, but I hope that goes through. The longest tenured Patriot will now be, I think, David Andrews, 2015. After that, I think it's Dietrich Wise. Good God. It's a sad state of affairs down there.
Lawrence
anyway,
Guy,
sorry
maybe?
to... Maybe. It's possible. Sorry to end on a low note, but, it had to be said. I did want to give a little shout-out to McCourty and Slater towards the end. Who knows? I don't know when we're going to record next. I would like to do it soon. Jordan, we got to talk. I'm thinking Red Sox next, but we'll see what happens after their disaster story. Jaclyn, you're obviously welcome to come along, and hopefully we can get Kyle back as well. So, that was us. Patriots episode. Glad to be back. Hopefully we're going to try and sprinkle these in a little bit more throughout the season, whether it be football, basketball even. I'm sure Pat wants to do another one as well. All right. I'm rambling at this point. So, for Jaclyn and Jordan, I am Jeremy saying, have a good rest of your day, everybody, whenever you're listening to this.